Well, I mean, institutional investor has been in my life for a very long time. I mean, when I was used to be a sell-side analyst, I also would like to be ranked within the institutional investor surveys. Investor relations and buy side has been voting for us. So it was fairly important for our, not only for our resume, but also to continue to be a top-ranked analyst within the framework of the sell side. I believe it is far more important for investor relations. Being recognized by institutional investors is extremely important, and the major reason, the fact of that is the survey is independent, and the questions and the comments are to the point, which basically easier to assess and provide enough information. Plus, it covers all the parties that we have been interacting, including the buy side and the sell side, which I believe both is equally important. I mean, I can break them down to three actually: transparency, consistency, and sustainability. The first, you need to know the company pretty well, the drivers, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. You really have to have enough information to provide. You need to know the company back and forth. The second, you need to identify the perception about your company. So what investors have been thinking about the company, what they used to think, what are the things that you can potentially change about the company. And then you need to come up, when we all finish those two steps, you need to come up with a direct message as a major ingredient of your equity story that is potentially and has to be aligned with the company's strategy and shouldn't be more than 2 to 3 points. And those points must be consistent, coherent, and provides a clear outlook about the company. In a way, when you keep repeating that message, both to sell side and the buy side, at some point of time, you need to make people to remember your company with all those 3 messages that you're providing. I guess those are the things that we have done throughout this process. Becoming digital or digitalization is basically one of the essential parts of the holding company overall. So it's not only investor relations, but of course, we are finding ways and thinking about ways to be more digital in order to find ourselves more time to get connected and interacted with both investors and the analysts. For that reason, we have included robotic processes. For many of the database work that we've been doing. We keep doing that, by the way. We're adding more and more, and we are now adding to produce reports, internal reports that we prepare. The major idea or the aim for that is to, as I said, to have more time for us to get connected and interacted. And do our work more, actually, to be more interacted with the investors and the analysts. The second thing is, as you know, the investor profile in Turkey has been changing extremely rapidly in the past couple of years. And there are more domestic retail investors involved in the equity markets. And their needs are completely different than what we used to be when you compare with the institutional domestic and foreign investors. That's why we have included an AI-based program in our website to help them provide more information. And this is a voice-based program, so that they can, when they type their question or they speak their question, it tries to give an answer if that answer within the database of that program. If not, it basically says, I mean, this is all I know, I'm still learning, please email for more information. That's how it works. So those are the areas within the digital framework that we are trying to do within the investor relations. ESG is basically an integral part of Sabanci Holding. I mean, we have a lot of targets that we have published already, including net zero into 2050, 42% reduction in Scope 1 and Scope 2 SBTI-based targets by 2030. Those are, we know they're extremely important, and what we are trying to do, we're trying to express them as much as we can in the very beginning of our presentations or our discussions with the analysts and the investors. And also we are undertaking either ESG roadshows specifically focusing on ESG, thematic roadshows, let's say, and ESG days that we're trying to provide more and more information or specifically the information and the strategy of the company in terms of ESG. We have an ESG directorate that we are working with. So life on that part is relatively easy for us. We are very strong and very active in both explaining and executing on ESG. Time is basically becoming more and more important. So, digitalization is actually a very integral part of the investor relations process, because as it gets more and more complicated within how the markets operate and changing investor dynamics, you need to have more resources. So in order to have that kind of information, you need to have those big data process within the company, not only about your company, but the world market, your competitors, and so on and so forth. So that digitalization process, in terms of including our Ps in all of those database management, I believe, is extremely important, because, I mean, it's your target, but also within the company, the management, the top management is also another counterparty that you need to be addressing as well. In order to do that, you need to have a lot of resources and a lot of information. For information, you need to have that databases. Targeting is getting more and more important. And the number of sell-side analysts have been reduced significantly over the years. So the work that buy-side is being doing is much more when you compare it with 10 years ago. Therefore, you need to be specific, precise. For the investor relations part, you don't really want to spare time for an investor that you know is not your target. That's extremely important. So both good for the buy side and good for the investor relations. So CRM and targeting is getting extremely important. Again, it shows that face-to-face communication is essential and far more effective than doing it online. So I believe it definitely will be a balance between online meetings, because by online meetings, in a very short period of time, you could be able to reach a lot of investors at the same time. So this is good, but you also need a human touch. I used to be a sell-side analyst for a very long time, and one of the things of a sell-side analyst is extremely detail-oriented people. So when I'm explaining things and when I'm preparing a presentation, one of the things that was the biggest challenge for me is trying to be not as detailed as that much when I used to be a sell-side analyst. But I learned finally. So when people ask for a detail, that's when I'm going into detail. Other than that, I try to keep it as short as possible, both the presentations and while I'm explaining the company. Those are Monaco Grand Prix at Paddock, a Super Bowl, and a Coldplay concert in a short period of time, hopefully. Well, deal more with digitalization rather than finance, or become a pilot.